Take two. My name is Lily, like the flower. Welcome to a live Q&A stream of TC with Lily. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for maneuvering with me. This is the third attempt at the live. Didn't really have technical difficulties, just had a toddler running around and she was demanding my attention. So I stopped and I gave her my attention. So I'm back. Live Q&A. Drop your questions in the chat. Let me know where you're from. If you want to talk real estate, transaction coordination, business, Beyonce, whatever comes to mind, I'm open to talking about it. For now, I want to go back into the conversation about having multiple streams of income, pursuing your passions, and just truly figuring out, what it is you want to be doing at this time. Whether it's a transaction coordinator, you want to consult, wherever you're at. I'm currently in a season of change myself, of pivoting out of doing things that I've been doing for the last almost 2 decades, and it's a little daunting. It's exciting. It's energizing. I'll tell you that much. I think the uh, choosing to rebuild is something that I think we should all go through, because I know there's a lot of stuff that we hold on to that we don't need in life, whether it's a career, a person, or um, a mindset, programming, whatever the case may be. I've taken a lot of time over the last, I would say, year, and definitely in the last few weeks, to really be honest with my career, where I'm at, what I'm doing, and do I even want to continue doing it the way I have been? I've had a lot of resistance building my transaction coordinator business. As many of you know or may not know from watching my YouTube channel here or listening to the podcast, I've been working in real estate for almost 2 decades. It started as a part-time job in 2014, and it has just kind of manifested itself and unfolded itself in ways that I couldn't even imagine. I do feel like, looking back, a lot of it was out of my control, meaning I kind of just did what was put in front of me. I didn't ever really make the choices to do things because I wanted to or I desired to. It just was, I was making decisions out of convenience versus purpose or passion or a want and need. It was just like, oh, well, this job is open, let me go take it. And I just ended up staying in real estate this long because of those choices. And it doesn't mean that I was miserable or regret any of it. I'm actually very grateful because it's led me to this point of, location independence, time freedom, and figuring that out for myself still, even 5 years into it. And now being in a place of pursuing my passions for podcasting, media, producing, production, creativity, and finding where I fit. Not even fitting in. It's just creating my own path and staying in my lane and taking different routes along my journey to get where I need to get, and wherever that is, as long as I'm enjoying the process, I'm grateful. And podcasting has definitely been that for me, and I'm definitely investing more time and energy into my podcast, Transaction Care. Go listen to it. New episodes every Monday. I just released a solo episode talking about my last 6 weeks of my life and how I've just made this major shift with acceptance of my career and where it's going. So go check that out. It was a great episode. I also have some awesome interviews that I've done so far. My interview coming up with Shalonda Moore this Monday is it. I don't want to be biased, but I really enjoyed that episode and that interview. I actually listened to the episode like 3 times already because the conversation was just flowing, and she dropped a lot of gems, a lot of gems, and it was inspiring, especially being a young woman in real estate, an entrepreneur. She is paving her path for her, and I think we should all strive to be on our own paths and to be able to pursue and allow parts of our lives to flourish. And for me, going back to media, creating an outlet for myself to not only express myself, but to also share my platform and to talk about real estate in a way that it's not getting talked about, and providing more people. I use the word exposure positively right now because I want to expose real estate in a way that it hasn't been exposed. Talking about transaction coordination with other TCs, how they got there, what was their mindset with, I'm either just going to do this as a job or I'm going to start a business, an agency, a company, and how they got there. That way it inspires those coming up behind us to make their paths a little easier as well, make their journeys a little easier. So, going back to just having a passion for something and pursuing it, it's important to know yourself. And a lot of the times, getting to know yourself, it's definitely not going to happen overnight. It's definitely not going to be one of those, yeah, that makes sense. Let me go do that. I'm still getting to know myself and allowing certain parts of myself to showcase itself. And when it comes to transaction coordination, I'm in a season of teaching, educating. How can I be of service that no longer requires me to push papers all day? I have a strong desire to help, and podcasting is one way I'm doing so. This YouTube live, being, offering myself to have live Q&As for anyone that does have questions or is interested in working in real estate as a realtor, as a broker, as a transaction coordinator, as an assistant, part-time, full-time. I haven't been a broker, I am licensed, but I do have a lot of experience in this industry, and I've seen the ups and downs. I've seen people come and go thinking it was going to be a walk in the park, and it wasn't. And when I talk about multiple streams of income, I'm also talking about side hustles, part-time jobs, just making sure that you are taken care of entirely, not just waiting on people to give you work or for it to just drop on your lap, which I'm not saying can't happen, because every day I'm like, bring it on. I just won free concert tickets to a concert I was interested in going to, and I won tickets, and I was like, okay, this manifestation stuff is really powerful. So I'm not opposed to things just finding you. I call it's alignment. I'm a firm believer in alignment and your true calling. And when you're open to receiving those blessings, they will come your way. But removing those blocks and knowing your patterns and knowing, you know, whenever you're so close to accomplishing something you've been wanting to accomplish, that's been on your goals list for 5, 10 years, and you're almost there, and then you self-sabotage. I do that. I have done that. I'm actively working on not doing that. So in order for me to find my way, to find other directions that aren't solely focused on transaction coordination, I'm opening different avenues of my business. I have a merchandise store. Go check it out. There's a t-shirt for sale. Rock the brand, support the brand. Head to tccarepackage.com to purchase a shirt. And I have the podcast. If you want to advertise on the podcast, I'm open to doing that. I have a newsletter where I share tips and tricks about business, real estate, transaction coordination, social media, all of that. I'm building out a community platform. Stay tuned. I don't have much detail on that right now, so that's all that I have on that. You're welcome. If you have ideas or suggestions, I'm open. Let me know what the best ways I can help and provide a service that of quality and value to you, the viewer, the customer, in order to thrive. In order to thrive, I'm taking all of my experience and just purging it out right now onto paper and seeing what sticks, what doesn't. I'm trying my best to not be a perfectionist through this whole process as well. But again, this just plays into having multiple streams of income and not having to stray too far away from what I know in the meantime. And I'm doing just that. So, how are you sustaining right now? Is it one income, multiple? What are your feelings? What are your thoughts? I would love to know. And just have a discussion. Maybe I could get inspired. Maybe there's an area of my life that I'm lacking that I should be focusing on. And but for now, what's calling me loud and clear is the podcast. Make sure I don't mute the mic. So, but I want to be, I want to be able to help provide as much ease in your journeys and answer any questions that you have, because what's important is having that person that's already done it tell you, like, okay, these 10 steps that I was given, you don't need to worry about steps 1 through 4. Start at step 5. And then you create your own steps after that. And you tell the next person behind you, like, all right, see these 20 steps, you could start at step 15, because you don't have to worry about those other steps prior, because I already took care of them and did them. They're no longer a block. And that's what I'm trying to produce, is just this ripple effect of change, of growth, of confidence in each other, in ourselves. Knowing where I'm at today versus where I was exactly a year ago, even 6 weeks ago, I feel like every day, every week I'm getting stronger, but that's because I've been intentional and putting the action, in my manifestations, in my affirmations, in my, what do you call it? I was listening to a podcast on this. Hold on just a moment. Law of attraction. So the law of attraction is, in my opinion, when you are just completely open and detached from an outcome, but your energy and your vibrations are all in alignment with that occurring, that there's nothing else that you could do but just be present and show up for that, for it to attract to you. But I also feel like you need to prepare. You also still need to put in the action and surround yourself with those like-minded people. So if I wanted to become a car aficionado and, learn about Lamborghinis, would it be smart to spend my time at a candy shop every day or go to the movies every day? No, I should be visiting car lots, following people on social media that own Lamborghinis, or talking to people like, hey, do you know anything about Lamborghinis? Versus sitting in a movie theater in the dark, talking to no one. It's not going to get me anywhere. Again, I'm open to the possibilities are endless, but I would much prefer, if I'm interested in, say, Lamborghinis, going to a lot on a weekend and just spending my time surrounded by those people that buy them. Like, well, how did you get here? How did you start your business in order to afford a Lamborghini? Let's talk about that. And what do I need to do in order to, maintain that lifestyle and afford a vehicle like this? And that's just one example. But I'm just saying, when it comes to the law of attraction, manifesting goals, prayer, even, it's going to take some action on your part as well. There is a chance that some stuff will fall on your lap and just show up miraculously. But at the same time, being prepared when those do arrive is important too. So let's say you want to be a millionaire, a 6, 7, 9-figure billionaire, trillion, whatever. You want to be a millionaire, right? How are you handling the $100 you have right now? How are you handling every time you get $1,000, $10,000? How are you handling the money you have right now? That, in my opinion, will determine how you will be able to handle $1 million if it just fell onto your lap tomorrow. Will you blow it? Will you invest it? Will you allocate it in a way that is for longevity? Or do you want to just blow it all at once? You just want to feel what it feels like to have $1 million and then go back to your old life? Or do you want this to be your new life? I know we all have our dreams and our goals. Like, I think it's a fun activity to just pretend you have it now and spend it. not in real life, because I don't want anyone to be a millionaire uh, in debt for $1 million. But have a journal, have a money journal, right? And in there, bless yourself. Like, say you want to have $1 million in 30 days. And you don't have to worry about investments. You don't have to worry about bills. You don't have to worry about taking care of your parents or your kids. Everyone's set. There's this TikToker I follow that inspired this topic right now, because she does that. She's delusional with her manifestations. She uses her imagination to the highest power, and I love it. I love it. And I've been following her for almost a year now, but this is the first time I actually actively participated in her activities of, okay, I'm going to give you $400,000 in 30 days. And every day I'm going to give you this much money. It's conditioning your mind and normalizing having a lot of money and being comfortable with that, because oftentimes when you have no money and then you get a lot of money, the first thing that comes to mind is like, oh, I've always wanted this. You go backwards. We go backwards instead of thinking ahead of time. Like, if I got my first $500,000, I don't think it would be smart for me to go and buy that Lamborghini. I would want to, some advice I heard was, if you can't afford to buy it 10 times, then you shouldn't buy it. $500,000 is not 10 Lamborghinis. One at best, but then I'm still living, you know, where I'm at today. There's no, because you have to consider maintenance, you have to consider gas, you have to consider protecting it. You know, I can't have a Lamborghini on my street. That was why I had to push the whole live an hour and a half later, because I couldn't find street parking. Imagine me outside of my neighborhood with a Lamborghini. It just doesn't align. So, versus, I understand we all have, oh, I've always wanted that Versace robe. I need a chain. I need every Jordan, every Air Max, every, VIP at the Beyonce concert. Like, well, first and foremost, if I had $500,000, best believe I'm getting VIP at the Beyonce concert, point blank, period. I can get 10 of those for $500,000. But what I'm getting at is, practicing being rich is more fun than dwelling in being broke. So when you have that mindset of, oh, how can I make more money? Or thank God I get to make money, this doing this, or thank God for every penny I have. When you lead with gratitude, when you lead with, being thankful, it eases some of those blows. Like, okay, well, I'm just grateful to be breathing, seeing. I have my sight, I have my hands, I have internet, I have Wi-Fi. Even though Xfinity is playing me right now and telling me I've used up all my data, that's never happened, and they're already overcharging me, but that's a whole other separate topic. So, if I want to practice being rich, and if I think long term, maybe those things I've always wanted don't seem as appealing as they once were. And thinking about being rich for the rest of my life and today versus blowing it all overnight. And that is why I didn't want to just rely on one. It was one of the reasons why I didn't want to rely on just one income. One is close to none. I heard that on Earn Your Leisure. It's scary. And when that one thing is taken away, who am I? What do I have? Where am I going? What do I do? So I'm actively pursuing other streams of income from the ground up, like almost hashtag starving artist mode. I'm definitely not starving, because the way my pants are starting to get tighter have proven that I am not starving. An artist, yes, but you understand the quote, you understand the saying. And for now, it's freeing. It's freeing when you're pursuing things that are still aligned with the work you do in the field that you work in, but it's from your terms and it's from your it's based off of your purpose and your passion and what it is you are yearning and to be fulfilled, to fulfill. So do what you have to do. There's a multitude of ways to earn different streams of income within your industry, or maybe it's you have always had a desire to work in a completely other industry. Start a side hustle after hours. If you have a passion for cooking, but you work in real estate all day, how can we incorporate that in our daily lives? Updating and changing our schedules. Even if it's for 5 minutes a day, you're watching a new recipe. Once a week, you're buying, every day you're saving for that new pan or pot that you've always wanted to work with, or skillet, whatever the case. It's just realigning and being intentional and showing up for those passions and those purposes. And if it's through many streams of income that get you there, I'm just here to tell you that you have those options. You don't have to stick to one thing your whole life. You don't have to stick to one thing for 5 years even. I'm in my 5th year. April 1st marks my official my official 5 years of being in business is when I started working full time for myself, and I haven't turned back. And right now, as scary as it is to be standing on this platform, what feels like just this wide open space, I can either look at it as nothing is happening, or just a space of just a multitude of opportunities and ideas and creative ways that I could build this new life for myself. Does it mean I have to put earning money at a fast rate on hold? Yeah. And in all honesty, my business has been really slow for a long time. And I don't like using that word slow. I'm trying to eliminate that out of my vocabulary. But you understand, like, when times in business are slow, it can be difficult to stay encouraged and to want to pursue your passions, because you're just like, all the doubt and the fears take over. But if you think about it, if you're not making money doing what you don't like, why not go make no money doing what you love and eventually making money doing that as well? Hi, Kenya. Love your videos, learning a lot. Oh, I appreciate that. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to answer them. I'm over here just talking about my life and different ways of creating multiple streams of income and just staying encouraged even through the dark times. I know when it comes to, bring them on, drop them in the chat. I'm open to answering them. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. That's what I'm doing now. Yep. I love talking to people in the chat. And Kenya, thank you so much for commenting and saying hi. I appreciate it. Where are you from? Or where are you located? What city, state, country? I was looking at my analytics for TikTok, and on my personal account, I have, like, my second, other than United States, I have a following in Nigeria. And then with my transaction care TikTok, I have, other than the United States, a big following in Serbia. I don't know how it happens, but it's kind of cool knowing that you could reach. Yeah, it's kind of cool that you can have reach in places you didn't even imagine. Like, so maybe I should look into Serbian real estate and really just, please my audience. Florida, cool, cool, cool. What parts of Florida? And are you a transaction coordinator trying to pursue transaction coordination? Trying to get out of transaction coordination? I don't know if you caught the earlier part of this live or if you watched some of my previous videos. South Tampa. Oh, okay. How's the market been in South Tampa? I think I've been there. Is that where the Marlins play? If so, then I have been to Tampa long, 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 long time ago. And the moment I arrived in Florida, there was a tornado. So everything is booming there. Oh, that's cool. I think a lot of people now that more people are being, um, oh, the Bucks. Got it, got it, got it. I think now that more people are able to relocate and work remotely, they're investing and living in places like Florida, Georgia. I just interviewed 2 transaction coordinators out of Georgia, and they both have been just consistently working. And I'm in the Bay Area, San Francisco. I just learned that other places around the country call themselves the Bay Area too, so I have to be specific. But I'm in San Francisco, and things have been consistent here. I think our numbers outweigh the volume, like the prices. I think that will always outweigh the volume that we have available here. But yeah, I'm in California. Exactly, exactly. So every time I say the Bay Area, I catch myself and I have to be clear and say San Francisco, because even people in San Diego call it Bay Area sometimes, or the Bay, South Bay. So Kenya, where are you in terms of starting the process of becoming a transaction coordinator? I know California is the only place that does have a program to be certified, but it's still not a requirement. And but I know in Florida, it's possible to just start. It's just a matter of where and who you're going to start with. And I'm not familiar with the contracts out there, but the best place to start, in my opinion, is just narrowing down the location you want to service. So if you're located in Tampa, South Tampa, or south of Tampa, I just learned about TC from a realtor friend. That's also a good start. A lot of people don't have a way in because they don't know anyone in real estate. And I think the misconception about being a transaction coordinator is that it's easy to find work, or that you can just jump right in it. And that could be true, but I think it definitely helps when you know someone that is a realtor that can give you some of that behind the scenes game, or following my channel, or whatever the case may be, because it is a lot of hard work. And I've been doing this for I've been working in real estate for 20 years, 5 years alone as a business, and you're constantly marketing yourself. You're constantly, looking for more business, because even if you have a roster of 100 realtors, it's not guaranteed that every single one of them is producing. So you have to find that, like, balance for yourself on, like, how much am I willing to put myself out there, cold calling, volunteering, interning if that's available, working a part-time job. I started working at an office. That's how I got my start in real estate. I've always known that I wanted to work in business. I had no idea it would end up being real estate, but here we are, almost 2 decades later. And but I'm grateful that I did have my start working at an office, because I got to see the realtors coming in and out from touring, and I got to see them get hired. I got to see them, like, the eager, like, rookie feeling, and then them getting discouraged and leaving. And I was like, wow, man, I could see, like, where this person was lacking, and if they'd only invested more time in this area, they could have been flourishing. Um, yeah, real estate is addicting. And there's so many different ways that you could be involved in real estate, which is why I started my podcast, is because I want to talk to all of the different people that work in real estate. It isn't just being a realtor or a broker. Um, you still can, Kenya, you still can become a realtor. You can get your license and just be licensed. And then once you start paying dues, then you become a realtor. That's when you can go, do all the heavy lifting. Is once you start paying dues to your local state board, that's when it's for real, for real. And for me, I just hold the license. I'm not a realtor, because they are different. For anyone else watching out there, being a real estate agent and a realtor are two different things. A realtor means that you are willing to pay another company to do this job, and having a license just shows that I'm educated in this field. It's just a broad way of explaining it, but there are associations for every state. And once you decide you're going to do this as a career and you say, hey, here are my dues, now I want to be a realtor, they provide you with platforms like the MLS, multiple listing services, um, forms, libraries, seminars, conferences, things like that. It's like anytime anyone else creates like a community for people to belong to, it's like a club in a sense, but ultimately it's another area where you have to pay to work in real estate. And I think that's another thing people don't realize, is that you have to pay to do this job, that you aren't getting paid. And but that's also the reality of being a business owner, because realtors are independent contractors. I don't know many offices or brokerages that are hiring realtors as employees, unless they're like an office manager type employee, or admin, marketing department. Like in that sense, you could still be a realtor and work at an office. But I'm not aware of realtors getting paid a salary just to be a realtor. If that exists, I think that's cool. I don't know where it does exist. I'll do research and find out. But real estate overall is addicting, and I'm learning, like, there's so much to learn. Like, I'm so eager to learn about investing. I think my whole mindset was like, I just have to own, I just have to own. But in reality, it's more so, okay, well, how can I leverage this in a way that is like for the long term? Yeah, it's important to have multiple streams of income. And that goes with, I always would say, I have to own real estate. I have to own real estate. And more recently, I started saying, building my real estate portfolio. And then something about saying that felt so real, and like, oh, this is legit, versus just owning a home. For me, I'm all about just reprogramming my brain, thinking about other ways differently than I was used to, and seeing how that, suits me. And, even just the other day, I called my podcast a full-time business. And that to me solidified and legitimized to me, not from anyone else, that this is really what I'm choosing to do. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about money is so sensitive. It's such a sensitive topic, but I think it's important to try and have those conversations. It doesn't have to be blatant. It doesn't have to be so blunt. It could just be you telling your experience, and them not just giving you feedback, but just opening up that conversation. You know what? It doesn't have to be an everyday conversation. It could just be you leading through example, and that having an impact on someone else. You celebrating a win, and someone being like, oh, I didn't know she was doing that, or I didn't know they were doing that, or I didn't know he was doing that. And you just living your life can be an example to creating those conversations and normalizing the discussions at the table. And it doesn't even have to be at the dinner table. It could be, it could be based off of a song that your kids like. Sometimes we have to, not put ourselves so high on a pedestal. I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just saying in general, we sometimes have to come back to other people's level and say, especially with our kids. I have a niece and nephew. I don't have kids myself, but to me, they're like my kids. And I take my nephew to school. He's 13. He's 14 every day. I don't teach him lessons every single day, but I do talk about the artist that he listens to and say, I'll challenge the artist. Like, well, he could have used his words. He could have used better words. And I don't mean the cussing. It's like, all that aside, I mean, he could have been more creative lyrically with his words, or I can write a rhyme like this. And then to me, I feel like that expands the kids' minds. And I'm not only, whether I'm relatable or not, um, it creates a path of it just creates this open path for discussion that doesn't have this like authority and then, kid role. There's I wish I had bars. I act like I do, but I don't. I got chocolate bars. That's about it. I got reception bars on my phone. That's about it. But I will say I was listening to a Drake and 21 Savage song on the radio, and I was like, this is it? This is what he's rapping about? I was so disappointed. If anything, I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to be a rapper and just be a better rapper. Just for the simple principle of I don't like what he's rapping about. Especially when you're, fans of people like Tupac and Biggie and Jay-Z and even a Drake or a J. Cole, like those artists I have something to say. It just felt so basic. But I did say that I told my nephew, I was like, well, it just proves you don't have to be the best to be great. You just have to show up and be consistent and not give up. So that was the lesson, because I think also when it comes to talking about money, I don't need to be the like, all right, now hip hop, let's talk about hip hop. Like I don't need to like do it that way, but it's more so like, oh, what do you think? Like asking them, like, what do you think about this? Leading with their opinion versus this is what you need to be doing, because they don't understand. 14-year-old isn't going to understand. I'm 38, a 38-year-old's perspective about money. All he wants to do is get a $20 Apple Pay every now and again so he can get snacks at the store. So it's like, it's at such a basic level. I can't expect him to know everything that I know or to understand or relate to what I'm talking about right away. This is like, these are conversations that need to continuously happen over time. But most importantly, it's like he is navigating the world in his way. So it's important for me to touch base with him to see how he feels about it first. And then I can kind of, like a teacher, build my curriculum around how he's feeling or how he's experiencing the world. Because I know sometimes we can spew things out of fear, like, oh, don't get into debt. You don't, avoid debt. When sometimes debt is okay. Don't quote me. I don't want anyone going into debt because I said that. But sometimes you need debt to prove that you are good with, your credit, to buy a home, to buy a car. It's a backward system, but anyway, I love talking about money. I love learning about money. I think it's important for us to make it comfortable. I'm the type that doesn't mind asking people how much they make. I want to know, because sometimes I'm thinking like someone's making $300,000 because they have this amazing job, and then I find out it's like $30,000 a year. And my money is money, but at the same time, it's like that transparency is important too, because then you're just like, oh, well, how can I make this much doing something I love? Or how can I get to doing something I love in the meantime while I'm working this job, or while I'm breaking out of this 9-to-5 system? And it just takes a lot of internal work and showing up for yourself and recognizing your patterns. Like I just did a self-sabotage assessment to learn like what is the dominant part of me that self-sabotages the most. And whether you believe in these like assessments where basically you just answer a bunch of questions, it tallies it all up and then categorizes like, all right, this percentage is this percentage is that. For me, it came up, I was like, I think 75% avoider. And I was like, oh, that checks out. I'm definitely a serial avoider. Excuse me. But being aware of that has helped me recognize and be like, okay, I feel myself, I about to self-sabotage. Let me get out of this. Let me say my affirmations. Let me go pick up that book I'm reading that's been inspiring me, or let me go play a podcast, or let me just go sit still and be silent and see what messages God and the universe are trying to give me, versus just continuously distracting myself or avoiding things. But when it comes to starting a career in real estate, it could be overwhelming. It could be intimidating because a lot of people are just moving, 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 moving. And when you look at everyone as just like we're all just scared little kids in this world trying to survive, it doesn't make it as intimidating. In fact, I look at top producers now as equal. It's the money doesn't make you any better than me. I'm choosing to live a more modest life, a more, of course, if I made 6, 7 figures a month, a year, a day, that'd be beautiful. But am I even prepared for that? Do I even know what to do with such a large lump sum of money like that? And those are the real questions you have to ask yourself. And that's a part of getting to know yourself as well. Is like, okay, well, who am I in this business? Where do I fit? What are the skills that I value the most that can help me through this? Am I great at communication? Am I great with paperwork? Am I great with deadlines and time management? Those are all strong, skills that you need to have as a transaction coordinator. And every day, to me, every transaction is as if I'm starting over from day one every single time. No two transactions are ever going to be exactly alike. You will have a repetitive, you will see disclosures that are repetitive, but it's usually the forms where they have to answer questions where you're really investing more time and energy and making sure that your behind is covered throughout this process, because it's your eyes and your brain that's leading the charge in this whole business of transaction coordination. I'm in the process of I can openly admit I'm no longer doing transaction coordination full time. My business for me, and I took this as a huge sign. I feel like it finally hit me after a year of rejection. That I think I'm just done putting in so much time and energy into that part of my career because I've been doing it for so long. So anytime I do something like this, a live, or I ask someone to be on the podcast, there's just so much more ease. And I'm not making any money from this right now. This is pure passion, and I'm building up these platforms and my communities of people to work with and support and educate any way that I can, but also eventually find a way to monetize it. But I also understand, like, times are hard. I don't want to be so unreachable just because I need to make $1. But I want to be able to provide content and platforms and courses and mentoring for people like yourself, Kenya, so we can so you can find where you fit in this industry and build from that. It helps to know someone in the game. I did a lot of this. I was just thrown into the fire, and I feel like I've been figuring it out ever since. And I don't want to have anyone to have to go through such a long process. I don't want their journeys to be so long. Definitely, Kenya, stay in touch. Stay in touch. I don't know if we follow each other on social media, but I'm on TikTok, Instagram. I check DMs. I'm on here on YouTube, podcasts, all of that. Definitely, you could schedule time. Join my newsletter. I share the link to my calendar in my newsletter, and I'll be announcing soon, in the next few weeks, what I'll be offering for a community where all of us can just like meet privately, one-on-one or in a group. I'll just have evergreen content living on a platform as well. Stay tuned. I'm saying it out loud. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I'm saying it out loud so I can keep myself accountable versus me just keeping it in my mind and like self-sabotaging and avoiding. It's like, well, if no one knows, Kenya knows, and Kenya's going to keep me accountable. So I better get on it. I got to do this for Kenya and other people like Kenya. And but yeah, any questions you do have, just email me. If I don't answer them right away, balance for sure. If I don't answer them right away, I like making content out of it. So because I know if you have a question like that, many people will have a question about a certain thing. Um and I want to be able to just answer all that and provide as much free content as well. Like there's no reason that we should have to pay for someone to answer a simple question as to like, how do you become a transaction coordinator? Yes, there are nuances, and I think there are levels to this game and to this industry, which I do agree that could be like a paid part of it. But for the most part, I'm open and willing to be like, no, do this, do that, call these people, call this person, and start there. You just have to start. If you're serious about transaction coordination, focus on, 3 to 5 tasks this week, and then see how were you able to get them all done? All right, move on to the next 5 tasks. Don't overwhelm yourself in thinking you have to do all 100 tasks today to figure it out. My last podcast that I just put out was talking about I took the last 6 weeks to focus on who am I now in this new phase of my life, and basically devoting that 6 weeks and committing to that 6 weeks to be focused purely on redoing my schedule, podcasting, and has really unlocked something that in me that was just like stuck for so long and miserable. I was angry this whole top of the year. I was angry and I didn't know why. And I think once I realized like, oh, I think we are starting to phase out of transaction coordination. And it's important now for me to focus on this educational aspect of it, providing a platform for other TCs and other people in the industry. Yeah. And, when you're working at a job, it could feel like forever. But the best thing I could have done for myself working at my job was saving money. I stayed at my job, I'd say 6 months to a year after I had mentally quit. I think now they call it quiet quitting. I don't know. But I was still showing up. I was still doing my job. I was asking people questions. I was maintaining good relationships. But if you're interested in real estate and your job right now has nothing to do with real estate, keep the job, pay the bills, create a reserves fund, get in the habit of, possibly not making money first, because my reserves carried me through the summer. It was like 3 months of reserves, and I was like, peace out. They were also jerks. So that it wasn't just like I'm quitting because I hate my job. It was like they played me, and I lost all respect for them, and I had to get out of there. But create a separate account, like a separate checking account that you give money to every week, every month, whatever you can afford, because those reserves are going to help you in the long run, especially if you ever quit and decide not to have a 9-to-5 or an income. Having the reserves was the best decision I made for myself, because it also taught me how to take care of my money. I was very reckless with my money. All of my 20s, all of my early 30s, very reckless. And now I'm almost like too frugal with it. Especially now that I'm taking a seat back from transaction coordination and I'm not making as much, or if any, I'm not making anything currently doing what I'm doing. Oh, good. Yeah. See, and that's encouraging for yourself. That builds confidence. That's going to help give you the confidence to move on to this next phase of your life and your career. Because, fortunately and unfortunately, money does have power over everything. And I catch myself, good. I love that. Alignment. I talk about alignment a lot. It's like when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I spent the last year in a space of resistance trying to make my TC business work, when it's like, no, I think I'm supposed to be teaching or educating or mentoring of some sort. Now that I'm doing it, it's been so smooth. Now I just need to figure out how to make money from it. um, everything kind of came together. I tried before, but yeah, it has to line up. See, and if you have a passion for marketing, spend some extra time learning about digital marketing. You know, maybe you become an expert um, with building newsletters. I know that was super specific, but it's like find areas where you can become an expert, package it, and sell that on the side. Going back to multiple streams of income. Focus on the TCing. If that's where your head is at, focus on that. And then build out once you have your footing intact as a TC, or maybe you can become a marketer for TCs. You may not even have to become a TC. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but once my ideas get flowing, they just don't stop. But I know I'm not capable of doing all of them. So it's like, maybe I'm supposed to speak this out for someone else. And if you love marketing, maybe you pushing papers all day isn't the right route for you, but learning about real estate, and you could probably help a TC. Yeah. Wait, I want to wrap TC with yeah. That's common as well. The notary, and the more services you can offer, the better for you, because if one thing isn't working, you can go to this one, you know? Um, and maybe you'll create a marketing agency for TCs, who knows? Or realtors, or people in the real estate industry. Like, there's so many different ways, but just focus on what lights you up the most and brings you the most joy, and say, okay, this is how much I need to make every month. What do I need to do? Or how much do I need to charge to hit this every single month? And just go from there. Yeah. Honestly, and I'll be honest, I was applying to jobs just to see what was out there, and I got so sad. I was like, oh man. But I'm also trying not to let my ego sabotage me as well. But I'm open to whatever God and the universe has for me at this time. But I love being a vessel, and like helping other people and having these conversations. So thank you for taking time out today, Kenya, for being in the chat. This just made my day, because I was having so many technical difficulties and things were just blocking me from being on time. And this ended up being the best time anyway. So thank you again. So if you have to go, I appreciate you. Definitely stay in touch. But I'm going to stay on here for a few more minutes if anyone else does join, or if Kenya, you feel inspired to ask any more questions. Otherwise, have a great day. But I'll stay on here for a little bit longer, and just kind of recap this week and what went on. I'm selling merch. I have a merch line. I'm selling right now. There's just one t-shirt on there. The front says transaction care. Bad marketing on my part. I should have worn one in the live, but transaction care on the front, and then on the back it says care for yourself, care for your wealth. That is the message. That is the motto. I'm sticking to it. And the reason I put it behind is so people behind us that are coming up behind us can have that message and feel empowered and feel strength. And yeah, I need to care for myself, care for my wealth. Because every time you put on that shirt, you're armoring yourself with that strength and that care for you. Because if you care for you, you'll care for everything else. And your wealth is just a byproduct of that choice. So head to tccarepackage.com to pick up your empowering armor t-shirt from me, Lily, like the flower. But this is an amazing live. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Sometimes life has ways of knocking you down. But if I stayed down, I would have missed out on having an amazing conversation with someone interested in working in real estate as a transaction coordinator. And that's what it's all for. I'm grateful. I'm so thankful. I'm going to go package up some t-shirts and mail them out. I'll document that whole process on my social media. Who knows? I'll probably go live on Instagram right after this. I can't go live on TikTok just yet, but I appreciate you all for being here, for watching this. A whole hour went by. That went by super quick. time flies when you're having fun, right? So, few ways to catch me. Transactioncare.com is the main hub. And if anyone has questions right now, drop them in the chat. Let me know where you're checking in from, where you are living, loving, all of that. I'd love to hear from you. But you can head to transactioncare.com. That is my main hub of what I do, my services, my businesses, my shows, all of that lives on transactioncare.com. Everything also has its own domain, but it's just easier to send you to one place. I don't want to overwhelm anyone out there with going to 6 different websites. But you ultimately just go to transactioncare.com. You can buy a t-shirt there. You could listen to the podcast there. You could watch this YouTube channel on all the episodes that I've uploaded on there as well. If you need a transaction coordinator in the San Francisco Bay Area, California state, I am available. And all of that information is on transactioncare.com. But for anyone interested in starting a business in real estate, in transaction coordination, it is possible. It is a lot of work, much like starting any other business. But if you have a passion for real estate in any realm, there's so many. That's why I started the podcast, because there's so many different avenues that real estate can take you in. It doesn't always involve buying and selling a home. There's marketing, there's social media content creation, there's merchandise, there is landscaping, architecture, law. I mean, inspectors, appraisers that will appraise a home correctly and not based on their racial bias. I don't know if you guys heard, but there's that case. I think they settled for a few $100 million. Let me look it up. Let me see. $500 million mistake. So go be an appraiser. Anyone out there, we need more unbiased, not racist appraisers. And lenders, mortgage, there's so many different ways that you can be involved in real estate, construction. The list goes on and on and on and on. Photography, videography, editing, assisting. Gosh, the list goes on and on and on. And this whole live was based on streams of income, creating multiple streams of income for yourself. And that list is just a few ways that you can embark on a career in real estate. It doesn't have to be you selling homes or being in sales. You can also be a coach. Maybe you're an expert at confidence or keeping people accountable. You're good at writing. You can create captions. You can create home, descriptions for property statements. There's so many different ways you could work in real estate. And my goal is to bring all of that information to the forefront and share with you as much as I can, and doing interviews and these live sessions and creating content based around all of that and learning from myself as well. I'm very curious right now in the investing world and building a portfolio. That's the first time. This week was the first time I ever called it building a real estate portfolio, and it legitimized how I feel about owning property, because it no longer felt like it was just a place to live. It felt like a long-term, like I really felt like I was caring for my wealth when I said that out loud, building a real estate portfolio versus I'm just going to go buy a house. I don't know. It could be my business entrepreneurial mindset kicking in, but either way, something about like legitimizing my decisions in that manner really just motivated and inspired me to like think differently and act differently and pursue things that wake me up versus dim my light or exhaust me. I mean, life is exhausting in general, right? But I might as well get to, go to sleep at night knowing I was doing stuff I love. And, what I said earlier was talking about if business is slow and you're not happy with that type of business you're running, reassess what you're doing. I would rather not be making money pursuing something I love and enjoy, much like YouTubing, content creation, production, media, podcasting, all of that, and building my way into a new career, into new money, and knowing that I have an overflow of opportunities that I can create and that I'm opening up to versus being stuck and contracting myself in an area where I'm not happy. And not everyone has the luxury to just up and quit. I won't ever tell anyone to just up and quit their job, especially if they need it financially. I think it's okay to like gradually work your way out of a situation like that. Unless it's abusive, they are degrading, racist, physically abusive, mentally, verbally abusive, get out. Then get out. Unemployment exists for a reason. But overall, when you are trying to start a business, that is a whole different ball game, a whole different world. And I'm here to support anyone out there making that decision, because it's even 5 years in, I feel like I'm just now getting the hang of things. Considering I'm also in a place where I'm starting over from scratch again. So I hope I could be a vessel and a support system for anyone out there learning about business. Hi, Destiny. Let's see. What did you say? Let's see. Where are you from? What city are you located in? Love your vibe. I'm all about living a life we love. I feel you owning property. That's a goal of mine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey. Looking to make a transaction. Oh, New Mexico. I don't think I've have we corresponded before? I'm not sure, but I don't think I've met anyone from New Mexico, Albuquerque. Yeah, I actually had someone in the chat today, similar, wanting to start into transaction coordination. And I was just telling that person, I was like, it's going to take time. It helps if you know people in the industry, just to, bounce questions off of them, and maybe they can, you know, point you in the right direction of like, oh, well, this person needs an assistant. And maybe you start off as an assistant, or you start off working a part-time or full-time job at a real estate company and learning the industry that way. Because that's how I learned. I was working a 9 to 5 for many, 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 way too many years because of my own insecurities. I stayed at that job way longer than I needed to, but hashtag no regrets. And I'm still taking a lot of the lessons that I learned from that 9 to 5 into my business today, and being able to mentor and educate people, doing these lives and whatnot. But do you have any experience in real estate, Destiny? Because that definitely helps. You don't have to be licensed to be a real estate transaction coordinator. I'm actually releasing this Monday, I'm releasing an episode with someone that has she has like her own academy where she teaches licensed and unlicensed real estate people about transaction coordination. And I'll be creating my own platform and community soon as well. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be all about TCing, but there will be aspects of TCing as well on my part that I want to share with people, and be able to share my experiences with them in a more intimate, sector that isn't so public like this. I do not have. Thank you. Okay, so I always admire people that start in real estate from lending, and that part, because I feel like out of all the jobs, that's what we rely on the most, is the money. And if you have an understanding of that aspect of real estate, I feel like you will have an easier understanding and better transition becoming a TC, because you know what it's like to have to process so much paperwork. It's different from the paperwork you would process as a loan officer, but you understand the volume and like the back and forth every day, the communication, being CC'd in emails that maybe you don't need to be CC'd in, but you have to keep it for correspondence and like, to cover your behind and things like that. But yeah, I think TCing is a great way for people to embark in real estate and finding another path for themselves. And it can be very lucrative if you are consistent with maintaining good relationships, and um, as well as marketing yourself and not stopping, because I think that's where it's not where I went wrong. I think it took me a long time to realize that I was finally done with TCing. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, believe it or not. Um, and much like staying at my job way longer than I should have, I think the last 2 years has been me kind of evolving out of that to be more of a just an authority, or a voice for the voiceless in this industry. And there is a lot of gatekeeping. There is a lot of people are scared to share their information because they think everyone is just competition. It's like whether you share it or not, people are still going to try and put themselves out there. So you might as well just help them so they can do it right. And I think that's where a lot of people fail with transaction coordination, is because they just get in here thinking it's going to be like an admin job where you're working at a front desk, and it's really not, especially when you're doing this as your own business. When you're doing it as your own business, you're responsible for a lot more than just the paperwork. Um, yeah, there's always room. There's always room, and as I'm talking about this now, like I just said, I'm phasing out of TCing full time. So it's like one less TC out there, right? So who's going to take my spot? Go have it. I believe in multiple streams of income, and in creating ways that I do want to coach people. I do. I think that's always been in me. I just didn't know how to let it live. I just didn't know how to like admit that I was wanting to do that. So in a way, I'm starting my career and my business over from scratch. And usually old me, even just like 2 months ago me, would have ran away from this whole concept and just kept trying to make TCing happen for another 20 years. And I would have been miserable. But I feel like God and the universe are telling me, like, no, you've accumulated enough information. It's time to share it. It's time to let other people do what you're doing even better. Um, and I believe in that. And I'm grateful that people are finding me, and like yourself, Destiny, that are interested in doing this, because it's not easy. And you could feel very alone and isolated in this industry as well. And it's just good to have a support system, knowing that there are still good people in this industry. Because one thing about realtors is they can be very cutthroat. And I don't know what it's like in New Mexico, but in California, I'm in San Francisco, the Bay Area. Um, I've encountered some jerks. And you have to have a strong, I'm not saying you put up with any of that, but you do have to develop a thick skin to stand up for yourself as well, and know what and what not to take throughout a transaction. I've fired people. I've been fired. I'm not ashamed to admit any of that. And that's just a part of the territory, is getting comfortable with like, no, you're fired. I'm done with you. And you feel like nervous and shaky at first, for me at least, when I first had to like let go of clients. But but either way, it's empowering. And when you stand up for yourself in this crazy industry. Um thank you, Destiny. I appreciate that. Yeah, like there once you find your stride in entrepreneurship, I think we all need to, for those that are kind of risk averse, like myself, I'm working on not allowing fear to stop me, or sabotage, or avoiding things. I think when you are a little bit more risk averse, you need that soft landing to start off with. And for me, that was transaction coordination. But even when I started my business 5 years ago, I think deep down, I knew I would eventually get here. I just didn't know how or when. And now that I'm here, I'm actively just doing my best to not run away from I'm doing my best to not run away from it, because I know there's so much more better opportunities for me on this side of things versus going backwards. Um, yeah. You're always going to be tested as an entrepreneur. And if the tests aren't coming from the world, it's going to be coming from up here, you testing yourself. in ways that you're just like, am I good enough? Should I even be doing this? And especially if you mess up. I think the days when everything is going great are fine. But it's like, even 20 years in the game, I'll make the littlest of mistakes and it's like the end of the world. And I get so down on myself. Thank you. It's true. God wouldn't have given me the idea if I couldn't handle it. That's the truth. Um, yeah. So when you mess up, I just chalk it up as like, I feel the feelings. I'm like, crap. Okay. I messed up. I made an error. Old me would have done everything to like fix it. It's like when you're a little kid and you break a piece of like a plate or a vase, right? You're trying to put it all together, glue it back together yourself. But what instead of admitting you messed up and you broke it and going to like your mom or your dad or whoever and saying, "Hey, I broke this." You don't know what's on the other side of that. They could have been like, "Oh my God, don't worry about it. I put the vase there because I meant to throw it away. So you didn't mess up." So there's hope, around like making mistakes, and there's always a lesson around it. So I try not to hold on to so much of the burden if I do make a mistake, because sometimes it's not as big of a mistake that I may have thought it was, or that I made it up in my head to be. Um, but there will be times, I pray that there isn't, but just in preparation of this, where you miss something. And it could be the difference between you getting fired or you not. And for whatever reason, you will need that lesson for the long run. Maybe it's you no longer wanted to do this, or you needed that push to get out of whatever situation you're in. Or you now know, like, well, every time I do this type of transaction, I will not make that mistake. And that's how I learned. Not aside from just being thrown into the fire as a TC, I became a better TC because of my mistakes and my failures. And I'm not saying go make mistakes on purpose. Please don't. No one ever go make mistakes on purpose. And ask questions, ask for help. Put yourself out there like, "Hey, what I like to do if I don't know something, I go to the Facebook groups. There's a lot of transaction coordinator Facebook groups that I belong to. I'll go ask a question there. And if I don't want to admit that I don't know something, I always just frame it as like, "Oh, I'm having my brain, brain foggy. My brain is kind of foggy today. Can you guys remind me what happens when I have this type of transaction, or what happens if the buyer is not responding, or whatever question it is, wherever you're stuck." You don't have to admit that, like, "Oh, I know nothing about this." You can just be like, "Oh, can you guys remind me how to do this?" And there's usually someone willing to answer those questions, or give you their experience or how they did it. Um, so it's the beauty. It's a gift and a curse. Hopefully more gifts than curses. But perfection just does not exist in the world of real estate, entrepreneurship. I think the misconception about real estate is that everything is glamorous and everything is perfect. Just because your hair is slicked back down doesn't mean you're the best realtor in the world. Underneath all that is just a scary little child, much like the scary little child that exists in me when I do big grown-up things. But as long as my intention every day is like, have fun and experience joy. That's it. Yeah, definitely utilize those Facebook groups. They are really, really good. Also, find groups that are specific to Albuquerque, New Mexico, for transaction coordinators. Those are the TC groups are a lot more legit than the real estate groups, I've noticed. Like when there's groups like um real estate marketing groups, like those, trash in my opinion, like because there's no one really moderating them. There's no one really maintaining the comments. Sometimes people are just wild in the comments, spamming it. And with the TC groups, the people that have created these private groups are on it. Much like the job of a TC, they do their due diligence. They put in the effort to make sure everything is clean and respected, and they have rules in those groups. So definitely go join them. One group that comes to mind is by Samantha. Her group name is, I'm looking it up right now. I think it's like TCs, buy like the best TCs. Gosh, I can't believe I'm like blanking right now. Um, but either way, if you look up Samantha Manhays, she has a great group. If I could find it, I'll add it to the chat. Um, but there are a lot of great groups that I'm grateful that I've had because I've used them, especially when you're working by yourself, managing different companies. Every company works differently. So it's like when people ask me, well, how do I become a transaction coordinator? There's like a list of preliminary questions I ask them first because they think they can just go and do the same thing. Like it's going to be this repeat like package for every single brokerage, and it's not. It's different. It's different for every city. It's different for every county. It's different for every state. It's different for every home because some homes may be like in a district where a certain regulation, like these two blocks, like from 7th Street to 8th Street, there's a no, I don't know, no street light clause. Like it could be that ridiculous because of someone else's failures in the past. It now became a disclosure or a compliance, right? Like no fireworks between on these blocks, whatever the case may be. So it's up to you to learn what it involves. And so when people ask me like, how do I become a TC? It's like, I'm down to help you, but I also want you to understand as the future business owner that you have to do your own footwork and find out like, what does Albuquerque, New Mexico require? Am I allowed to TC in other states or for different brokerages? It's like those little nuanced questions that people forget about. I forget about them sometimes too. Like, oh yeah, because I'm in the process of getting licensed in a different state, and the office manager for this office I work at, I had a conversation with her yesterday about it, just like asking her different questions, and she reminded me um, to just be careful because some states don't allow you to have licenses in other states. So I'm going to do more research on that. So don't quote me if I'm saying that wrong. But basically, she just opened up my mind to like, oh yeah, I should consider that before I go and spending all this money getting licensed and I can't even do anything with it. Excuse me. Sorry, didn't mean to have that on the mic, but either way, there's just so many different ways you could work in real estate that may not that you don't even realize are available to you. But basically, it can be a lucrative business. And I think also I want to point out that 6 figures is a great goal to have, and I'm not saying don't go for it. I say go for it, but also keep in mind like when you're aiming for those numbers, to keep in mind that you should hire help along the way. Don't do all of that by yourself. Have the plan to hire an assistant, have the capacity to be able to hire an assistant as well, the budget, because it will make you a stronger business owner. It will make you a better transaction coordinator. I burnt myself out my first year, and it almost took me out of real estate completely. I don't know what I would have done after that if I didn't give it another chance. And I'm grateful I did give it another chance because now I'm finding my way through all of that adversity. But ultimately, you definitely want to work with the idea of sustainability, whatever balance looks like to you. Because when you're working alone to maintain 20 plus files a month, depending on what you charge, obviously it could be less or more. But depending on whatever your financial goals are in this, always be working to grow and build with help. There's no reason you should be doing any of this all alone, unless you can, unless you don't have any other distractions and you choose to do this. And I don't mean distractions in a bad way. I mean like other things that you're responsible people and things that you are responsible for that would take you out of doing the same thing every single day. Um, I think it's important to definitely work with that mindset of like, okay, well, how am I handling, managing 10 files a month? How do I feel? Like, do a lot of check ins with yourself along the way. And if you have to add them to your calendar ahead of time, do so, because I think we get lost in the idea of like, wow, look at how much I made. But then you look back and you're just like, damn, like there's already like a Creed 7. I started this when there was a Creed 3. Like you look back and then like life has passed you by. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. You know, build a team. Exactly. Go in this with yeah, you don't want to look up and then it's Creed 7. We don't want to do that. We want to enjoy life. We want to see the Creeds as they hit the theaters live and go have that, popcorn and nachos and treat yourself to a icy or whatever the case. But entrepreneurship, what I'm learning also is scheduling fun on my calendar. No matter how busy or slow or quiet things are, I have added even the smallest things. Like there's this new boba place in my neighborhood that I want to try. I added it to my calendar for next month. I may do it sooner, but it takes off that pressure of like, you know, having to like be overwhelmed with life. It's like it's something to look forward to, right? And next month is like two and a half weeks away. But either way, oh, hold on, I need to lock my door. The children are back. But either way, this is a fun live. Do you guys have any other questions? I see there's a few of you in here. It's dope. I had a lot of fun. And it actually worked out way better that I didn't do it at 12 o'clock because I was supposed to do this live at 12. I was supposed to do this live at 12 o'clock, but life had other plans. And I don't have parking on my street, so I had to wait for parking for almost 2.5 hours. And then when I looked at my phone, I was like, oh crap, I don't have enough battery to go live from my car. So I was like, this is a part of life. This is a part of business. I'm just going to have to pivot and give myself grace and just tell people we're going to be going live 1 hour later. And even when I did the first attempt at 1 o'clock, my 2-year-old niece was slamming on my office door, like, open, open. And I didn't want her on the camera. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna log off and try again at 1:30. And I'm glad I did because I got to interact with Destiny, with Kenya, and everyone else that's in here. This was a lot of fun. And if you guys have any topics you want me to talk about or do videos on, please send them my way. There are no silly questions. There are no dumb questions. We are learning, and I say we are learning and growing together because I mean it. And and I say Lily like the flower. One, because people kept calling me like Billy, Dilly. It happened. So I just always say Lily like the flower. But much like flowers, they need to grow and they need time to develop and blossom. And that's what we're all here doing together. So if if you if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm gonna wrap this up. I had a lot of fun. I love doing this type of stuff. And it's cool to connect with people. We got I had someone in Florida earlier in here, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've never been to New Mexico. Should I visit? Like what should I see? I would love to visit New Mexico. I've been to the surrounding states, but I haven't been to New Mexico. I think that'd be a cool like long weekend just to go see what's out there. Um, I've been to the real Mexico, the fatherland. I've been to I'm half Mexican, half Samoan. So I've been to the fatherland, but I haven't been to New Mexico here in the Americas. But Destiny, let me know how your journey goes with TCing and working with friends, and create boundaries, have a system in place, communicate often, be real with your feelings, like this isn't going well or this is going great. And don't always focus on the negative. Celebrate the wins, big and small. It goes a long way. I had to start a gratitude journal because I was losing sight of who I was. I was feeling disconnected from me. I felt like what am I even doing? And then once I started focusing on gratitude, I was like, "Oh, I'm doing a lot. I have a lot to be thankful." I'm grateful that I have internet to be able to connect with people all around the world, all around the country, and share this wealth of knowledge that I've absorbed over 2 decades. It would I wouldn't feel right if I didn't tell people what I was doing and how to do it. I just wouldn't feel right. It had to get out somehow, and I'm glad it's I've found a platform and an audience to share this with because it's not easy. It's not easy doing it alone. It's not easy, having these crazy ideas and thinking, is anyone even gonna listen or watch or care? And they are. So thank you guys. Your time really it means a lot that you guys showed up in here and joined me today because I was feeling a little discouraged when things were starting to go left. And as it turns out, it all worked out. And but if you guys don't have any questions, I'm gonna log out. Head to transactioncare.com. Please join my mailing list. I drop weekly gems, tips, advice, conversations. We have conversations in there. I update you guys on what's going on with me personally, as well as exclusive drops and discount codes for merch and what I'm working on, projects that are coming up. I value your feedback as well because I don't want to thing about releasing products or, everyone has a course, right? But I don't want to just drop a course to make an extra buck. Like I'm thinking about one, the value and the quality of the content, but also like if I'm paying for something, I want it to be worth it. Lately I've become very frugal, right, with my money. So it's like if I'm going to be charging people to invest in me, I'm not going to put out some whack product because it's like what everyone should do, just go put out a course because it's an easy way to make a few bucks. I mean, I could do that, but integrity wise, like my moral code won't allow me and my karma is quick, so God will be like canceled. But other than that, transactioncare.com, join my newsletter, TC Weekly, and I'm working on that TC community. So stay tuned. I'm holding myself accountable to spring 2023. I know spring is on Monday, but I didn't say the first day of spring. It could be the last day of spring. Just sometime in spring 2023, you will be hearing announcements from me, courses, as well as just like workshops. I would love to do workshops with all of you and just being able to help guide you in whatever stage of your journey you are. I want to focus on people with like 5 or less years of experience in the entrepreneurship space, especially in real that is related to real estate, because that is my wheelhouse. So if you or anyone that is out there interested, share my information with them because it goes a long way having that network of people that are willing to listen and help. And if I don't have the answers, I'll find the answers, or I'll point you in the direction of where to find the answers, or start your research and just take it from there. But either way, my intention today was just to put myself out there, have fun, and I did just that. So thank you guys again. Whew, I'm like running out of breath. But I thank you again and again and again. This is a lot of fun. And stay connected. I'm going to go live again next week. I'm probably going to go live on Instagram right now and just wrap package t-shirts to ship out. So add me on Instagram if you haven't already. I'm going to see if I can do that. My niece she's back. She's 2 years old. She's back with a vengeance. So I need to go give her some attention. But other than that, thank you guys again. This is an awesome live. My name is Lillian Hernandez, aka Lily like the flower. We are learning and growing together. And this has been another TC with Lily live stream Q&A. I need to find a better name for this, but if you have any questions and if you are interested in creating, developing and starting a career in real estate, message me, DM me, let's work together. I'm more than willing to help guide you in the best direction possible to make it happen. So until the next live stream, care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. You got to coordinate. Bonus points if you could name that movie. You got to coordinate. DM me. Let me know where that line is from. Talk soon. Peace.